Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new Transformers G1 Blaster Reissue from Walmart. It retails at around $30, which is actually pretty reasonable, especially when compared to some of the previous releases. One thing you may notice is that this release comes with the stickers already pre-applied, which I guess is pretty convenient if you're afraid of messing those up. But on the other hand, it does take away some of the fun and nostalgia if that was something you enjoyed about your original Transformers. Another thing is that his speakers and legs seem to be a bit more of a beige color compared to the more silvery finish of the original. This bothered me a lot at first when viewing the pictures online, but in hand it actually isn't all that bad. Still, it really isn't as nice as the original finish in my opinion. Okay, so taking a look at the back, we get more of that classic G1 artwork that we've seen on previous releases. And zooming in a little closer, we can get a nice look at his profile. As we can see, Blaster's function is communications.
When the music is rocking, I'm rolling.
And his profile reads, Blaster finds all Earth music interesting, but it's rock and roll, good, hard, and loud, that really sparks his circuits, in the forefront of any situation he's involved in. As AM/FM stereo cassette player, he can perform as DEC plus receive radio signals of all frequencies with power outputs as low as 1/1,000,000th of a watt. Acts as Autobot Communication Center, can transmit up to 4,000 miles. Carries electro scrambler gun that disrupts electrical devices. Okay, so anyway, across the top of the box we can see some of his transformation in action. On the side we get some nice profile shots. A bit more on the bottom. And the same thing on the other side of the box. Okay, so that's about it for the packaging. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy unboxed and I will be right back. So there we have Blaster all out of the box and looking mighty spiffy, I must say. As is standard with these figures, he includes this instruction booklet which will take you through the steps of his transformation. And on the other side we just have a continuation of his transformation instructions. Pretty simple transformation all in all. This is one you could probably figure out on your own. Blaster unfortunately never did have any die-cast, so you'll notice that he is all plastic. Still, I must say he does look very nice in his cassette form, and I think he sort of makes up for the lack of die-cast with his size. This for me was a fan favorite as a kid. Looking at him today, I don't think he's quite as nice as Soundwave, but he still isn't bad. I could be wrong, but even back in the late 80s to early 90s, I feel like I remember him going for quite a bit of money once he was no longer available to purchase in stores. He does include an opening and closing tape deck, but unfortunately they haven't released any of his tapes as they did with Soundwave. Hopefully we do get those sometime in the future. He includes this huge blaster rifle, or as the back of the box describes it, an electro scrambler gun. It's pretty nice. I like it. I imagine there's some sort of science involved with this giant hole in the middle as to how the electrical impulses mix together and release to fry the Decepticon circuits. If we bring him closer, you can get a better look at some of the finer details of his sculpt. Nothing too crazy, but it works. And the back, as you can see, is pretty plain, but it does include that original 1984 Hasbro and Takara stamp. There's not really too much to say about him in tape form, so let's go ahead and get him transformed. And there we have Blaster in all his robot glory. As you can see, he is an absolute monster of a figure. In fact, if you were to place him next to a fully formed G1 Devastator, he would actually be a little bigger. Doesn't say much for the scaled accuracy of these G1 figures, but as a kid you just kind of used your imagination. I do however think that his sheer size did serve as an extra selling point for Blaster as an individual figure. It was one of the things I remember being personally excited about, just the sheer size of him as an action figure. You can play around with his arms a little bit and maybe get him to look a little better while holding his gun. I settle for this pose, but you can maybe adjust him a little bit better. He's got a really nice head sculpt, looking very much like the G1 cartoon in comics. Not much in the way of articulation, but hey, you can get some decent poses if you get creative. For the sake of size comparison, I'll show him next to G1 Soundwave, who is really only about half his size. Once again, imagination. So that's about all for now. This is another great G1 reissue in my opinion. Hopefully Hasbro does go ahead and release his tapes in the near future. He just feels a little incomplete without them. And here's also hoping that they go ahead, continue on with this line, and release the rest of these G1 figures as well. It's been a lot of fun to pick these up and finally have them in their original boxes again after all this time. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review, and I will see you next time.